All right, guys. So today we're going to be talking about a wireless noise canceling pair of headphones that just may be the only headphones you will ever need. The pair that I'm talking about is the brand new Noble Audio FoKus Artemis. That is a mouthful, so we're just going to call them the Artemis from here on out. Basically, it's a hybrid headphone. It's meant to do many different things, and it's meant to do many different things very well. It's essentially a high-end Bluetooth headphone that's supposed to give you like reference style listening in Bluetooth mode. It can also be used in USB-C mode. You can plug it straight into a source like a phone, tablet, laptop, whatever, and use it that way. And it's also meant to be used in normal 3.5mm wired mode. So you have a 3-in-1 headphone that's all supposed to perform at like a high-end level. And if you're not familiar with Noble Audio, we've checked out so many different products from them, and specifically they've kind of taken over the higher end listening experience when it comes to wireless earbuds. So to see what they could do in wireless headphones by just going all out, I was definitely intrigued to check these out. So the first thing I feel like we need to do is check out the overall look and the design, because honestly that's the first thing that grabbed my attention. It has this all aluminum build. It even has this like etched design on the outside of the ear cups that kind of gives it this marble look. It has a fabric headband. It's pretty soft. I will say these aren't like a heavy pair of headphones, but you do need to make sure you position them just right so they're extremely comfortable, because if you have the headband in the wrong spot, I did notice a little bit of discomfort, but that might be just kind of nitpicking. Once I moved it a little bit, that all kind of went away. They do swivel both ways, so you can see it, swivel out and then swivel in. They do use physical buttons, which I'm a huge fan of, and the ear pads on here are magnetic, so they're easy to just take off. They are a pleather ear pad, and the plus to them being magnetic means they're easy to replace later. And that's another theme behind these, because a lot of arguments that I see from people is they don't want to spend a lot of money on wireless earbuds or headphones because eventually the battery is going to die, different things are just going to die, and they're not necessarily replaceable. But in this headphone, even the battery is replaceable. That is a huge savior when it comes to spending as much money as you would on a pair of headphones like this. But when you take the ear pads off, not only do you see where you can replace the battery, you can also see all three drivers that are in here. This is another thing that really makes this pair stand out because it is using a 40mm dynamic driver, it's using a balanced armature driver, and then it's also using a planar driver. So that's not something I've seen in a pair of wireless noise canceling headphones. So again, you can tell they're trying to give you something a little bit different. Now, as far as the wireless technology that's in here, it is using a Qualcomm 3095 chip. It does have Bluetooth 6.0, so you do get multi-point connection, but it also has LDAC playback, aptX adaptive, and aptX lossless. So you're getting higher end Bluetooth codecs, which obviously you're going to want to have if you are trying to get high end audio. And if you are looking to use these outdoors, it actually comes in with an IP52 rating. So on top of getting, very little water protection, you're actually getting some pretty decent dust protection. That kind of makes you feel a little bit easier about using these outdoors. So that's a nice touch. But if you are going to use these outdoors, this is obviously where you would probably use the noise canceling. And I am going to say that the noise canceling is not on that like Sony or Bose level. It's not trying to go just like full max mode. And I think that's honestly on purpose. I think that Noble Audio kind of recognizes that when you have noise canceling that's being used to the max, it usually affects your sound quality. And you can tell that sound quality is the focus on these headphones, but I still don't want that to take away from the fact that the noise canceling is still very good. It is definitely going to do a good job of blocking out or at least dulling down lower tones like AC units and engine noises, things like that, which obviously is important while you're traveling. But I will say people talking are going to get through a little bit more than it would like a pair from Bose or Sony. So they're not like fully isolating you from the world around you, but it is definitely going to do a good job against, the usual, the lower tones. So do keep that in mind. This is not going to be like top tier when it comes to noise canceling. The whole focus with this headphone is top tier when it comes to the sound. Now, the noise canceling can be adjusted to different levels. This is stuff that you would do within their app, which I do recommend downloading. Obviously, this is how you would keep the headphones updated. There are some EQ options already pre-built into it that you can switch between. You can go in and just customize the EQ settings the way that you want. And then there is also the audio do or audio do. I don't know how it's pronounced. There's also that's doing personalized audio. So you just kind of go through hearing test, and then it will just set up an EQ setting based off, what your listening preferences are based on how you did on the test. Now, I personally, even though I felt like that did really well, I like just the classic setting that's already on these out of the box. Now, it kind of shows it being flat, like it's supposed to be neutral. And I think for the most part, it kind of hits on this. But if you do want to elevate the bass, I feel like it does a really good job to responding to this. Same thing with the treble if you do want to brighten it up a little bit. So it does respond very well. So I still personally liked the way that it was tuned out of the box. Didn't really feel the need to kind of mess around with the EQ settings anyway. Now, as far as what you're getting inside the box, it does come with a very nice hard case. You can see Noble Audio's logo pretty big on the outside, so you definitely know what is in the case. But inside the case, it even has the little cover that's covering up the other accessories. It comes with two different USB-C cables. One is made for charging. The other one is made where you can use it to listen in USB-C mode. It does come with a 3.5mm cable so that you can listen to it in wired mode that way. It also comes with an airline adapter for anybody that still uses an airline adapter. It's nice to know that that's already in there. And speaking of the USB-C cable for charging, the battery life on these are actually pretty decent. Now, it's definitely not the best that I've seen, but with all that it's pushing, especially having the multiple drivers in here, on a single charge, if you use these with the noise canceling off, you can get around 50 to 55 hours. And even with the noise canceling on, you're looking at about 30 to 35 hours. So that's, really good battery life. It's not something you're going to have to charge very often. It's definitely going to get you through a full day. You're not going to have to stop in the middle of the day to charge these. Now, if you do happen to pick them up and they are dead, you can get them back to being fully charged with only an hour and a half worth of charging. Now, if you are going to use these for taking phone calls, they do have 6 microphones total. I do feel like the call quality is very good on these headphones, but you guys can be a judge by listening to a quick test here. So here is a quick mic test outdoors. I can hear like a plane off to the side, and there is a little bit of wind, but this is just to give you an idea of what it would sound like if you were to take a call in public. So now let's talk about the sound. And honestly, this is where these headphones kind of separate themselves from other wireless headphones, especially wireless noise canceling headphones that I've tested in the past. This is a brighter sounding headphone. It is definitely meant to bring out details. It does a fantastic job when it comes to vocals, and the bass on these is very, very fast. This is a very tight headphone. If you are a bass head, I would recommend going into the app and kind of playing around with that to really just kind of pull these out. But again, the way that it's tuned out of the box, initially, the first time I put them on my head, because I had been used to listening to bass heavy headphones and earbuds, I felt like it kind of lacked a little bit. But after I listened to these for a little while, kind of allowed my ears to adjust to them a little bit, the bass actually has a nice punch to them. But it was just getting used to the fact that they're as fast as they are, which is not something I'm used to when it comes to wireless headphones. But the Artemis, again, is trying to give you more of a reference sound, something a little bit more true to how things are recorded. Now, I'm not going to say it's neutral as in flat. Obviously, there's some different things being pushed up here. The treble has a brightness to it that, if you're going to listen to them at higher volume, you are going to even kind of feel that it might be a little bit harsh. But to me personally, I never felt like I had the sibilant sound with S's. I like the fact that it got as bright as it did, because I just felt like I was hearing a lot of, subtle details that I don't normally hear, especially with using pairs like the Sony or the Bose. Same thing with vocalists. The mids are bumped up a little forward. It's not like too much, but it is just enough to kind of push them in front of the mix, so they're not just getting buried with everything else. But the characteristics that you're hearing in male and female vocalists is, again, something that's closer to a studio monitor. It is definitely a lot more detailed than other wireless headphones. Again, that's kind of what's making this pair stand out. It's really just all about the details. Now, when it comes to the sound stage and the sound imaging, this definitely feels a little bit more open. Obviously, if you're going to use the noise canceling, it isolates you a little bit more and it starts to kind of close it in a little bit. Same thing with the bass. Once the noise canceling turned on, the bass kind of boosts a little bit. So maybe that's something you might be interested in knowing if you are a bass head. That's kind of a trick to boost it a little bit more. But again, I preferred noise canceling off, and I preferred the just EQ that it had out of the box. It's just a very spacious headphone. Again, so many characteristics about the Artemis kind of reminds me of different studio headphones that I'm used to using. It's a very interesting sound signature to have in a wireless noise canceling pair of headphones, not just something you expect. So my overall opinion is this. Now, this is where I'm finally going to mention the price, because this is where it becomes a tough decision. This pair is $900. It retails for $899. And what makes that a difficult decision, obviously, is it's expensive. But being able to replace the battery means, these aren't going to die on you and they're unusable in a couple of years. It's something that you can replace the battery and just keep on going. But it's also kind of keeping you from buying different headphones. Like, you don't have to buy a gaming headset because you're worried about lag. Or like when I'm editing videos, I can just plug it in to my amp in normal 3.5mm mode and I'm good to go. And then if I'm outdoors or, going outside or just even walking around the house, having the wireless mode means it checks that box as well. I mean, honestly, the only gripe that I had initially was the discomfort that I had, the way that I had it positioned when I first tried these on. A couple slight adjustments, just moving it on my head. Once I found that, I didn't have any discomfort at all. And I also do need to point out that the noise canceling is not going to be on par with the Sony or Bose, which do come in at a cheaper price tag. So if that's what you're looking for, I would not invest my money in these for that. But the whole reason I would invest my money in these, and the reason I would recommend them, especially to audiophiles, is this is giving you that true, studio type headphone plugged into an amp sound, but being able to have it on the go. This kind of hits different levels that other noise canceling wireless headphones don't actually hit. But guys, that wraps up my video on the Noble Audio FoKus Artemis. If you are interested in checking these out, again, I will have it linked in the description. But thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.